thank you everyone for joining again. Today we are going to explore quite a couple of things. Let me show you what's going on the Creator Hub. We have this scene. You might be asking where I took all this amazing, well, maybe you can see it better over here. You can see these amazing assets I have imported into the Creator Hub. These are not built in. These are imported from a catalog that Lastron did in the past for part of his In-World Builder project. In-World Builder is an amazing tool that it's made for creating quests and other games inside the Decentraland too. It was a project that was funded by the DAO in the past, and as part of this project itself, there is a catalog of a lot of assets that can be very easily be imported into the Creator Hub. This kind of solves some of the things we have already been discussing during the office hours, that maybe there are some assets that might be missing in the Creator Hub, and this is an amazing solution for, first of all, giving some support and amplifying other projects like In-World Builder. It also promotes the builds that other creators have done in the past. So it's great. I think that's one of the amazing things about being able to create in Decentraland, that is also integrating it with other things and using things that others have developed in the past that maybe they enjoy promoting and sharing with others. So I shared it in the office hours channel, the link to this page. Well, not this one. We are over here. So this one is an amazing catalog. Let me just take it like this, where we can find a lot of cool stuff. We can have different views, and all these amazing assets. These are only about this venue style, but we have all these different catalogs. Like, this is just a huge work Lastron did, and I think it's amazing that it's open for everybody to use. We have a lot of different things to use. Even some of them have animations on them, and this is all open sourced, and it can be easily used. So, for example, we can go over here and we can choose whatever we want. As you can see on my scene, I am using quite a couple of things from them. I am using an amplifier, a cab, and the guitar. And for using them is as easy as downloading this GLB file from this button over here. Now we will download it. And if we want to use them inside the Creator Hub, the only thing we need to go to do, well, you won't see this. Maybe you will see something else. Let me see. Oops. There you go. Well, you will have something like this, right? And clicking only in the import assets, you will be able to import whatever you have downloaded directly. Here, for example, I have the acoustic guitar, and I just have to import it. Obviously, I have already done it, so I won't do it again. But now, as we do that, we can easily go into our local assets, and now we will have them loaded, particularly in scene. Whoops. Not scenes, images. Whoa. Oh, sorry, here. There you go. And then you have these ones imported directly. Once we are here, we can just open this up and drag and drop over our scene. That's what I did. If we want to do it again. And now you have another entity over here, directly from the model. So this is just 3 clicks away, right? So it's an amazing thing to do. At least from my side, that I am not a 3D modeler at all. This is very useful, obviously, because I can rely on models that have been done, but by creators that are amazing. For example, Kay Jacobs has done some of these models too. So yeah, it saves a lot of time, and you will have amazing assets in your scene, and also they are quite low in size, like 0.1 megabyte. I think it's the guitar. So when we are thinking about deploying this scene to our world, well, maybe in a world is you don't have the limit so low. But if you are deploying to land, you will probably come across optimizing and optimization problems regarding the size you can put on the parcel if you have 1 by 1, for example. Sorry. Let me grab some water. So the idea basically is that this is not only something that is useful from a preview mode or like a prototyping or something like that. They are really very ready to be deployed into an existing scene. So I think it's amazing. Go check it out and ask us any type of questions during the call. Maybe I won't be able to answer right now. But anyways, feel free to open up the mic at any moment. But if you put it in the chat, I won't probably see it right now. So
One little tip.
yeah.
Sorry, Peter. One little tip I wanted to add. I know it sometimes can be a bit confusing to navigate those menus where once the file is dropped. What I always do is click the models little icon on the left of that. And
Okay.
there you're seeing all of the models inside the project, and you don't need to worry about what subfolder it's in. They are all just displayed there.
Thank you very much.
A nice little.
That saves me a lot of time. So we are always learning new things. Thanks, Nico. And that's much more useful than what I was showing. So we can use these GLBs over here directly. So well, that's one of the things I wanted to show. I think this, as I said, like saves a ton of time, makes your scene quality rise very easily, at least from my side. I think it's very useful. And I know many of you guys have been asking of easy ways of importing things. So I think this is a great way of showcasing what others have built in the past, both in software and in 3D modeling. So that's the first thing. Now, and bear with me here, I know this might get a little bit confusing in time, over time, but we are going to explore a new functionality that was added, a new feature that was added into the SDK by now. It's not part of the UI already, but it will in the future probably. That is the cursor position, and using information about our cursor inside our scene. For this, we are going to jump into code. So before doing that, let's see what the scene is doing, so we might have a better understanding of this. As you can see, oh well, it dropped where I was. Let me change the position of this one. It was not that one. Now there it is. So As you can see, we have some objects in our scene, and this is going to be kind of prototype of a shooter. You can see that some of those have a little bar, or a little bar below them that are it's green. And what we are going to do is use our cursor, Raycasting it into our 3D scene basically, and being able to decrease the health of these objects until it's 0, and they will disappear after that. So as you can see, I am not clicking over them, I am just putting my cursor over them, and well, I can't see it because of the model, but it's going down until it drops and it disappears. It also does the same over here. This one that doesn't have our custom components on the item itself won't do much, right? So let's first see what is going on the Creator Hub UI side before jumping into code. Because in the end, we will be using some of the components that were defined using the UI will be modified with code. So the idea here is like combining both of the worlds and combining a little bit of UI development with some custom coding. So we have some, well, this one that the name wasn't changed already, and we have these other 3 models, which are the ones that have this kind of behavior of a health component that goes down over time. So we can go into the guitar, and let's see what does the guitar have as components. As you remember already from previous office hours, or maybe if it's the first one, you can add new components to a particular entity clicking on this plus button. When the model was first, well, we can compare it with this one. If this one that was imported just a while ago and doesn't have the other components, it just has a transform that sets the position, the rotation, and the scaling of the object, and then we have the GLTF component. That's it. And if we go back to our guitar, for example, we will see that we don't only have these 2, but also we have a counter and a counter bar component defined on them. And for that, we just go to the plus button, and we will have them over here. I don't have them because I have already imported them. If we check over here, and if we click on the plus button, we will see the counter and the counter bar components. After showing a little bit of what I am doing, probably we will come back to this object I just imported, and we will finish up the whole workflow there. So the guitar has a couple of components over there. It has the counter bar and the counter. And the counter, we have already seen it during last week's office hours, I think. And basically, what it does is creating a number that is associated to this particular entity, and it's set to 10 by default. Then, and in this case, we are going to do it through code. Like last office hours, we did it through an action and a trigger directly from the UI, an action that was triggering decreasing in the counter, for example. I think we were increasing it, not decreasing it. In this case, we are going to decrease it. But instead of doing it through the UI, we are going to do it through code. So we create a counter component, and we create a counter bar component, which it's like entangled with the counter component, and it will show how it goes down from a green bar to a red one. The maximum value is set to the same number, because if not, you will have maybe half the bar red and half green. So set it to the same number. And as I said, we are going to do a couple of things over the code. As you can see, this is much easier, like not easier, but it's much less going on the UI right now compared to what we were seeing over the past few weeks. We had other components over here, like actions and triggers. We had an action that increased the counter over time, and we had a trigger that with what certain behavior happened, like probably clicking on our coins, that would take the counter up. Like that trigger was triggering the action of increasing a counter. In this case, what is happening is that we have the entity created, we have the counter component created, but we don't need anything on the UI because most of the logic will happen on the code. So for that, we just open on the code button. Well, I think I have it already over here. Yes, I do. And probably when you first get into this as a certain repository you're working on this, not repository, sorry, the scene, you won't have all these imports and all this functionality here. Of course, you will have an empty main function like this one, but without anything inside and all this code that I wrote. But before going into the code, like the main logic, I have another file defined that it's called utils.js, which has a couple of useful behaviors that are going on in the scene, and then these are imported into the main file and run through the main function. But we will first look at these in particular, these functions in particular. And the one I want to see first is this one, the track cursor function. Why? Because this track function is the one that uses the new feature. So as you can see, the first thing I do for this function is calling the primary pointer info dot. The method we are going to get is the get or create mutable, and we are going to get the engine root entity. In this way, we are going to extract information from our cursor, and we are going to be able to use it for whatever we are trying to achieve during our development. So this pointer info, it has a couple of things inside. First of all, we have to think of the cursor in two different ways, right? We have the 2D position of the cursor, like the pixel in which in the x-axis and in the y-axis we are moving our cursor, but we can also create a direction. We can get the direction based on the camera entity and the direction the cursor is going. And think of it in this way: like you have a 2D representation, which will be like where you put your UI, for example, to the 2D dimension of the screen, for example, and then you have also the direction inside the world, which has another coordinate, which will be like the z-axis, right? If not, we just have x and y, and now we have like also the z-axis. So we can have a direction based on the position inside the world. And for those, it's very easy to access them through code. We just call different methods of the pointer info object that we just created. So we get the pointer info of the root entity. This has the pointer info, the primary pointer info, and we get a couple of things. We have the pointer position, for example, and we have also a direction. If you can see, I am using the same object, the pointer info object, and if I click, I can see all the methods that it has that I can call. Well, there are not methods really, they are like values we can access, and basically we have the screen coordinates, we have the pointer type, we have the screen delta, and we have the world ray direction. And we are going to be focusing on those two. The coordinates inside the ray direction, sorry, not the coordinates, and also the y and x axis of the screen. So we have two different values that can be quite useful, at least from my point of view and from what I have done for today. We are going to be concentrating mostly on the ray direction, but also the coordinates are useful. For example, if we have, let's think of a UI, right? We have like something over here, like pops up when I click something in the screen. So maybe we want to change the behavior of that screen when I go with the cursor over it. Well, we could track the positions, like the coordinates of that, let's say, pop-up window, and we could do something when the cursor goes over it. And as you can see, I have this line commented, but let's uncomment it. And oh. And now, as you can see, well, there is a lot going on there. But you can see these tiny two numbers, right? When I move the cursor over there, it just have two different coordinates, which I am accessing them independently by using the position, the pointer position dot x and the pointer position dot y. This comes from the screen coordinates object. So we could do like this if we wanted to have them separated at the beginning. So we are calling this, and this is just logging in our screen how these 2 pixels move around. Let me. Well, I think we have already touched this a couple of times, but remember that you can open up the console clicking on the backtick. So you can open it and close it, and you will see all the console logs that many times are very useful to troubleshoot and make sure that everything is working as you are expecting. As you can see, it's as easy as 2 lines of code, really, to just get the position, the coordinates of the screen, and also the direction. Well, the direction, let's see, we can do something like this. Let's call, and we will use the new dir, and we see that we have, in this case, three components. And now you can see that it's always 3 numbers. And if you can see, it's not like when the screen position where you had values going up depending on the number of pixels. We see that the number is always quite small, and that's because we are using a direction only. It doesn't mean it's something that it's pointing to a particular position inside our scene, but instead it's like telling us, well, you need to make this little adjustment on X, Y, and Z in order to go in the direction of the cursor. So it's different. It goes from 0 to 1, I guess, because it's like something that in algebra is called versors, I guess, that it sums up to 1 on the 3 values. So we will never have like, I don't know, like 36, like clicking on this part. It's just a direction. But with that direction is what we are going to use with the Raycast in order to know if this pointer is getting above the entity itself. It's going to know that the direction from the camera entity into the object, and our cursor goes in that direction, and it will touch a particular entity. So let me refresh. Let's close that. So as you can see, this function, the only thing that does is looking for the position of our cursor and defining the direction of our cursor based on the camera entity. We are just going to return the direction. We are not going to use the coordinates, as I said. Maybe we can go into that in another office hours, or I don't know, for other projects. But in this case, we are just going to use the raycasting direction. That's one of the things that will start to happen. What is going to happen? Well, we are going to create, well, let's go one step at a time, sorry. I think I was going to go for something a little bit, yeah. And after that, we need to delete the target. Okay, perfect. Okay, so these are the utils that we will be using in our main. So we go back to our index.ts. And now we see that we have a couple of things imported. Most of the time when we are writing things, and maybe we are using something from the SDK that we haven't already imported, it will highlight in red, and if you go up, you will have like a quick fix button to click. Most of the times it works very good. So, okay, there are a couple of variables defined here. This is not as important, so let's get into the juicy part, which is the Raycast system function. So, we are going to Raycast, and what I mean by Raycasting is like a project, yes, like projecting, starting from the camera entity and into the cursor position. We are going to be creating a beam, like an invisible beam that goes all the way from the camera. So if it's going to be the camera, maybe we should be doing it like this, in case we are doing like a first-person shooter. So yeah. So raycasting means creating a straight line between two things, basically. In this case, it's going to be the camera and the cursor, but you could also use it from the avatar to something else. And in this case, obviously, we are using the cursor because that's the feature I am trying to highlight. But you could use how these raycasting functions, you can use it with other entities too. In this case, that's what we are doing. So we are creating this function that it will do a couple of things. First of all, let's see, this is using the track cursor function, which is defined in our utils file, and it brings us back the direction of our cursor, right? This is going to have the direction. The new direction, it's because this is going to be a system, and systems run in every tick of the game, but I will go into that in just a while. But we are tracking our cursor position, well, not position, sorry, the direction. We are, well, just doing a console log here to track it. And if that position, this new position, is different to 0, in case the cursor is not pointing at any place of the scene, maybe we are outside it or whatever, it won't update anything. But if it's something that it's usable, we are going to set the current direction to this new value that we created using our function that we define over utils. For exporting something, we need to create the export function, but I will go into those details later. If any of you guys have any question regarding anything of what I am doing, please feel free to open up the mic. Probably I am forgetting some things in the way. I hope it makes sense all that I am saying, but in case something you think I'm missing something, just let me know. So now that we set the current direction into the new value, we get from the function we define. We are going to, well, this basically makes sure that our system is going to run periodically over a couple of frames of the game, not many, maybe in all of them. It will make sure that we are getting that cooldown in order for us to wait a couple of takes until we take another measurement, basically. And then we have this is the juicy part, right? This is the interesting part. So we are creating a function that then will be used as a system. And a system is part of, we have already discussed this in the past too, but basically a system is part of the structure, like the pattern in which the SDK is developed and other game engines that it's using the ECS architecture, which stands for Entity, Components, and Systems. And entities and components are something we have been already working quite for a while, that it's basically our entity, our thing over here that has attached a lot of things, like a lot of components to it. It has a transform, it has a model, it has a counter, it has a counter bar. It could have other things too, right? So these are components, and this is the entity. This is part of the ECS programming architecture. And the last, like the S, come from systems, and systems basically are used to make scenes dynamic. So a system will run every tick of the game, which is a lot of times per second. It will run, a system will run, and it will execute all these statements every time. So it will go, it will run, and it will say, hey, what's the position of the cursor? Okay, does it satisfy this? Okay, let's do that. Then we Raycast and we do something, and that happens periodically every tick of the game. Like every time your avatar is there, and that behavior will be running. So that's a system basically, and we are trying to define a function that will be used as a system. And bear with me, and I hope this is going to make sense, a lot more sense in a while. So basically, now that we have our direction of our cursor, we are upgrading that number every time. We are making sure that raycast is over our scene, that it has a like a valid value. Now we call the raycast stream. And this is different from the name of the function, like they are called the same, but you see that this one has this C highlight, uppercase, and this one doesn't, and this one is imported from the SDK. And this is just the name of the function, it doesn't matter. But this one is important, and this is the juicy things are happening. So basically we are going to call the raycast system, and we are going to register this function basically. And it will take a couple of arguments, and this is like quite important because it depends which entity you set to be the starting position and which is the direction that ray will be going. Most of the time, like what makes more sense is using the camera entity as the starting position, but you could also set it to the avatar, I tried a couple of things, like using the avatar entity, like the player entity, sorry, or using the camera entity, and I got better results with the camera, but you could test it around and see what helps most. Obviously, if the avatar is changing, like your player is changing the positions, I thought, at least for this particular experimentation, that it was easier to do it with the camera entity. So we are going to set a global raycast direction, and that means we are going to start from the camera entity, and the options will be the query type, which is what type of raycasting will be, because in the end we want to, let me show you, maybe this makes more sense over here, but depending on what I said over here, well, part of the logic that goes after is that I want to just stay with the first hit. So that means if I have an object and an object behind it, I would just trigger the first one until it disappears, and just then it starts going the health down on the second one. So as this is a kind of a shooter, and if, I don't know, if this would be like, imagine like a box and somebody is hiding over the other side, and maybe we need to destroy the box in order to kill the enemy or whatever that is behind. We will need first to take away the life of the first one and then to the second one. So that's basically what the type is doing, the query type is doing, and the direction is, well, we are setting what's the entity that it will be that raycast coming from, and then we are going to set the direction in which that ray is going, right? It's going to be a line that goes directly from the camera entity into the direction of the cursor. So as we had tracked the direction in 3D of this cursor, and we are updating it every time we run this function, we will have an updated number of the, well, not number, coordinates basically of the cursor, and we are going to be able to set the beam of the raycast in the correct direction. This is going to be like, let's call it like the parameters of this system, and what it's going to do is, like, if it finds a hit, which is going to be like the result, like what this gives us is a list of entities that were hit by the ray, basically. Well, not only the entities, but we are going to work with the entities that were hit. We could also track other stuff, but in this case we want to do some particular things with that entity itself. So as you can see, we are going to get the result of this, and the result will be a list, an array of things, and we are just going to get the first one. Remember that we are just getting the first hit, so I am assuming that this array will be of size 1 anyways, and we are going to get the result basically and get the hits and the first value of that array. That's part of the logic and the way that the SDK7 was built. And now that we have this, we can say, okay, does this hit exist? And if that hit exists, does it also have a position? If that happens, it will get into this, and it will say, okay, we hit something, right? And it has a position. Well, does that, whatever hit we made, has an entity ID? If it has an entity ID, it means that we are beaming something that is on our scene, right? It could be also this one, but that this doesn't have a counter. We can do something with the console log here to check that this is something that we are triggering, but as it doesn't have a counter, it's not going anywhere. So we check if we have an entity ID, and if we have an entity ID, we are going to call a decrease counter function, that is also part of our utils.js file. So it means that, going back a little, this means that every tick of the game, we are going to enter this function, we are going to get the cursor direction, we are going to check if that direction is valid. If that direction is valid, we are going to upgrade it. We are going to check if we are going to run the ray beam or not, the raycast or not. And if we are going to run it, we are going to go into the raycast system, we are going to define a raycast system, and we are going to get the hits of that particular ray. And if that ray is hitting something that it has an entity ID, it will do a decrease counter function. Okay. So bear with me. We have the decrease function, the decrease counter function. And this is the part where we start combining the code and the UI. Why? Because we are going to call this function, and as you can see, we have it defined over here. This one, the decrease counter function. It's going to take an argument of a target entity. It's going to be of type entity, and it will do something to that target. And let's see what's doing. So first of all, we are creating the counter constant, that it's just the get components. This is something that is imported too from the SDK. You see that it's from the asset packs folder, and we are importing the get components function. We get the get components, and we get of the engine, right? So we get all the components of the engine. Now we are going to create calling this counter we brought from this library. We are going to get the mutable or null. Basically, if it exists, it will get a mutable type of component. A mutable type of component basically means that we are able to modify it, and it will modify the component itself. If not, if we use a get method, for example, we are going to get back the value, but we are not going to be able to modify it. It's just for read purposes. For example, if we want to do, I don't know, a validation, an if statement, or whatever, we can use a get only method, and that it's going to get back something that it's read only. If we need to modify a component, we need to use the get mutable method, get mutable or null, and we are going to get basically the component of that particular entity. So we are giving as a parameter the entity where we want to look for the counter component, basically. That means, well, let's just finish this function. And well, if the counter exists, basically it can be null, right? It could have a value, or it could be null. And if it exists, what it's going to do is take the counter value and just do a -1 over it. If the value is 0, it's going to delete the target entity. And let's just not get into this delete target entity function just right now. Basically, what this is doing is similar to what we were doing last time. It's making sure that that entity is moving away to somewhere we won't be able to click it, and we are removing the entity from the scene. But that's something we have already seen, so let's just don't focus on that just yet. But basically, what we are going to do is, okay, we get into the raycast, we run it, we go into a hit, and we check that it has an entity ID. So it says, okay, it has an entity ID, it's an entity. Does it have a counter component? If it has a counter component, then I am shooting to it, so I need to take the counter down at least in one value. And in that way, we are going to get into the counter component. It will check if that entity has the component or not, because as you can see, we have this component that doesn't have any counter on it, so it won't do anything. And even we can do something like this. We could do, if the counter value, oh, okay, is okay. If, okay, yeah, it's this one. It's an else statement that it says it has no counter. So if I save, this is going to hot reload. If I click this one, I don't see any message. If I click this one, I don't see any message. But if I click this one, oh my God, it's saying so much things. But if we see, there you have it. It doesn't have a counter. So yeah, horrible. all the console logs I'm doing. Sorry for that. But as you can see, like when I try to hit this one is obviously going to work because it has a counter component. It will disappear eventually. And now if I go over this one, oh, let me see. Well, those little strings going over there. Okay. Well, yeah, it's horrible, sorry. I can polish it a little bit in a while. So basically, that's it. We are checking if that entity has a counter component. If it has it, I will reduce the counter by 1. And if it's also 0, I will trigger the delete target function, which is defined over here. And basically, it does a tween, it moves it, it scales it to 0, and it deletes the entity at the end. So it scales it, it moves it, and it removes it. I had to move it because I couldn't get it to work properly with the counter bar, but it's probably something on my end. This was the workaround I could find in order to work as I was expecting. Because if not, I had like the counter bar left somewhere in our scene, because probably, I don't know, like that component was left behind. Maybe I should remove the component before. But yeah, this is the workaround. And many times when we are building these kind of things, we need to get creative and try to find ways of solving our particular problem with the tools we have and with the knowledge we have. Sometimes what we want to achieve is too difficult for our knowledge, and well, we need to find workarounds. In this case, for example, I came across a couple of things. I wanted to do the beam, and this beam being like 6 little spheres going in the direction of the entity. I couldn't make it. It was working. It was not working correctly. I had to move in order to see them, and when I was seeing them, and they were moving. The beam was kind of clunky because probably the way I coded. So I will be trying to polish it up. So basically, oh. Okay, what command not found? Okay, let me see, let me refresh this one. Well, in the meanwhile, let me see in the chat. Does anyone of you have any questions? Does it make sense what I was showing? Okay, one last thing. So yeah, let me see. I wanted to see this. Okay, so after we define all this function that will take the cursor direction, it will make the validation. It will see if it needs to trigger the raycast or not. It will create the raycast system that it will trigger the functions we define in utils. Once that everything is done, that's one call of the function. And now in the main function, the only thing we are doing is calling the engine.add system, and we are adding this system over here. So when we add a system through the engine.add system method and we put it inside the main function, it's important because if we had all this defined and we didn't put anything inside the main function, anything would happen. Only the things that are inside the main function are the ones that are run. So if we wouldn't define this, nothing would happen at all. But now that I added, and this is a system, this will run periodically every tick of the game. So this function in the end will be running a lot of times per second, and it will be tracking all the things. It will track the cursor position, it will update the raycast system if it needs, and if it has an entity ID, it will trigger the decrease counter function, and the decrease counter function will delete the target if it's reached to 0, basically. And the interesting thing about this is that I have defined these components in the UI. So as you can see, the guitar has a counter of 10, but the amplifier has an counter of 25, and the biggest one has a counter of 50. I could change the value of the guitar one to, let's say, 100. And if I go back to my scene, now, well, it should be like this. There it is. And now, well, didn't refresh. Okay, it's not working my reload button. I don't know why. Let's see. Just one sec. I don't know why it wasn't working. But I changed the guitar, right? Yeah, 100. Okay, perfect. Oops. And many different things can be achieved using raycasting. Like, it's not only about shooting things or yeah, basically as I am showing. You could like even drag some objects from your scene and move them around. You could do something like slicing pieces of items that are running around. This is kind of what I wanted to achieve at the beginning. And now, well, it's not really the difference. But as you can see, like this, I haven't defined anything on the code that sets the counter value. So in the code, we are just calling the counter component of the entity that was hit by the raycast. It never sets the value to 10 or 25 or 50. It just calls it, and if it has the component, it will take a number down. And these are only defined through the UI. So if I set the value over here, it would represent what I am calling from the code. And this is quite useful when you are trying to build something and maybe, I don't know, you are moving assets around and maybe you want to add part of the logic from the UI, and in some moment during the development of the scene, you realize you are facing something that you can't solve with the UI, basically. You can't do all the functionalities you are trying to achieve in your scene through the UI. And in that moment, that's a great opportunity to jump into code and try accessing all the things that you are doing through the UI through code. Not all of them are possible, but most of them are, and you can grab this guitar by the name, like grabbing the guitar by the entity name, and we could do stuff to it inside a system or not, or something else. And we can just use it in a line of code. Like I think we saw this already, but it's never a bad idea to show it again. But basically, we could do like an engine dot get entity or null by name, and now we pass a string, let's say guitar, and this is just enough. Like we could do like a constant guitar entity, and now that's it. Like we already have this entity that it's going to be the guitar basically, and we can access now the transform component of that. We can modify it, we can create a twin, we can set the counter to whatever we want. We can define new components of that on that entity in particular, and it's really easy. This is a very easy way of creating complex things. Obviously, maybe for a twin, you would like to use the UI, but imagine you want to do a concatenated kind of twin that moves around the scene up and down, and it does a couple of I don't know, round movements and then whatever, and changes the easing function from linear to quadratic. I don't know. Well, that would be achievable from the UI. I don't know. Probably I would try to do it with code, because maybe you can come across like a function and you can define it on the utils file, or any other like file organization you find the best. But then you can define a custom function that maybe you can tweak and see, modify many things at the same time. And in many cases, it's much easier to write it with code, even if it's a little bit more work in the beginning. And other things like cursor position and cursor direction are things that we can't achieve through the UI at the moment. So obviously trying to write code in that particular case makes a lot of sense, the same as using the camera, for example, like fixing the camera in some position or whatever. And thinking it that way, like if you have a scene, for example, imagine that you have a scene that it already has a couple of things going on, and it's almost everything defined on the UI, and you want to add a particular thing that is done through code, then, well, it may look daunting, this, for some, I'm not sure, but this is not a lot of code. Like there is not so much. Many of these snippets, I took them from the documentation, and even if I created the utils function, this is also, it could be less lines of code first, and it could also be simpler, probably. And this is like a good scenario to, okay, there is something I want to achieve, I can't do it through the UI. Almost everything is happening on the UI, so your code will stay quite clean, and you will be able to troubleshoot much easier than if you have like a complete scene done through code that maybe it's much more complicated to maintain. So yeah, that was a little bit what I wanted to show. I am not sure if you have any. Oh, it's already. Oh, sorry, I got a little bit over time. But yeah, I am open to any questions or suggestions, or what do you think? I don't know if you already realized, but the collision, the camera collision issues are solved. Hopefully, some of you guys that pointed that out some time ago, you can go check it out in Word if you didn't know already. Some feedback already positive on that.
Krilo, in the chat, people were asking if you had this scene in some repo that you could share.
Yes, it's in the office hours channel. I I don't tag anyone there, so you might not get noticed. I can do something about that in the future. But yes, the repo is there in the office hours channel.
A little detail about the collisions for the camera being fixed. Yes, as Krito said, that has been fixed in the engine. It was kind of a two-part problem, and one side of the problem was on the engine and it's been fixed, but the other side has to do with how collision layers are set in each item in a scene. So we fixed something in the Creator Hub, so now by default, whenever you add an item, it should work well. But any existing items that you had from before, it might require a little change if you want to make sure that the camera doesn't go through them. So if you check the GLTF properties of an item, you'll notice that it has some collision settings, and it would really help if you can show. Thanks. Yes, that makes it a lot clearer. Thanks. So there, in the GLTF component, you have the visible layer and the invisible layer. Now, how this is set by default is what you see there, that's how it used to be set by default. The new default is that instead of having the pointer layer in the visible layer and the physics layer in the visible layer, you would have both pointer and physics in the invisible layer. Because reasons, if that's not the case, then the camera goes through the item. By doing what Credo just did, the camera will no longer go through the item. And by the way, I recommend would also setting the first one, the invisible one, to none, so that you don't have like redundant geometry, just more performant like that. But yeah, setting things like that, you will have the camera not going through the items anymore. You can also delete and re-add the item, and if you have the latest version of the Creator Hub, it should already the new default settings.
Well, yeah, it's not the best.
So, well, yeah, in first person, you're also gonna you're not gonna go through the item anyway because the avatar doesn't go through it.
Yeah, let me see if I take away the. Okay, so we should take away the. How would I do it?
Well, what I would do is, just move the camera around, not the avatar. So if you're in third person, just like move it, or not the free camera, just the normal camera by moving the mouse like that, and like try to go through the amplifier with the camera, like by scraping the ground.
Yes, it's not the best scene to do this, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot more noticeable if you're, in a building or with a wall.
Yeah, the problem was with the building, and that was what many of you guys were pointed out. Yeah, I think when the ceiling was too low, it was a huge problem. So that's amazing to have the fix already.
You could just make one of those speakers big and stretch it out.
We could, right?
Make it loud.
Yeah.
Too big for the scene, but that's the trick. Okay, yeah, that's a trick.
Nice. Well, maybe it's because of the.
But wait, no, I don't know exactly what is going on now, but that's not the intended behavior.
No,
you should be able to walk through it.
Yes, probably because of the model, right?
Maybe. how are the collider settings on it again?
No,
Oh, yeah.
96 some pointer.
You made the Y 100. Maybe it's just like too big and out of the scene bounds. Anyway, yeah.
It's probably because it's empty inside, maybe. Not sure.
Not entirely sure where that didn't work out.
It's an
That's
amazing model, right? It's very cool.
yeah. hmm It could be because the model is partially out of the scene. Could be just that. I don't know if maybe if when that's the case, the colliders are disabled. There we go.
There
Yes,
you
it was that. It was that.
go. Yep.
So now if we try to get the camera to
Oh.
collide with it. Oh, what?
Because I took away the live.
Right. Yes. The whole
The
system you were
thing.
working
Yeah.
on.
So now.
But if you go back to third person and try to like turn around, oh yeah.
Oh my god. The backstage. And what now?
But try to turn the camera around your avatar. So
Nice.
there you go. That's where you
There
would
you
have a problem otherwise.
go. Amazing. Troubleshooting in real life. In real time, sorry. Nice. Great. So there you have the fix. If not, your shoulder could be on the. Yeah, it was kind of tricky. Now it's working amazingly. So yep. What an audience today. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions, any suggestions for other office hours? I have an announcement to make. Hopefully, some of you are around. I will do an official announcement in the Discord channel, probably on Monday of next week. I will be a father very soon. In 2 weeks, I start my parental leave for 4 weeks. So I won't be around that much. It will be impossible to get away completely from you guys and from the channels and from DCL in general. But obviously I won't be as present during those 4 weeks, starting probably on the second week or the 3rd of July. I will make some more clear announcements very soon. From that day on, Nikoi it's going to do these Thursdays office hours sessions for those 4 weeks. You are going to learn a ton with him. He is the one from who I am learning all the time. He has a lot of knowledge, so use it. I think it's going to be amazing, and if time allows, maybe I will try to show up in some of them. So well, as I said, like I will be out for some time. Anyways, if you need any help from my side, during that time, feel free to write to me. Obviously, bear in mind that probably I won't be so active during those weeks, but happy to help in any way possible. And we still have some more office hours with me. Next one and probably the other one next week, and the other one I'm going to host them. But I wanted for you to take that into account, that in some weeks I won't be around. I will be sleeping much less than now, I guess. So yeah, just for you to know. As I said, I will make an announcement on that. And yeah, that was just a small comment. And does anyone has anything you want to share? Any topics you want to discuss? Something you want to see on next office hours? Something you want to show? Something you want to talk about? Well, in that case, let's wrap it up. Thank you everyone for joining. Really, amazing audience today. I'm so happy. Hopefully this made sense for some of you. If any of you thought that this was hieroglyphics language, please let me know. Like, feel free to tag me on any channel. Feel free to DM me if I don't answer you back quickly, because sometimes I am doing many things and I can't forget to answer those. In that case, annoy me and send me DMs. I really don't care, and I can go back to where you tagged me and write to you if that's a very urgent thing. Feel free to tag me anywhere, and hopefully you will be trying to write some code and exploring these features these days ahead. Again, like, I think that the only way sometimes to get these things going is like practicing and sitting down and realizing what works and what doesn't, and yeah, that it takes time, but I think it can create very powerful workflows combining, again, UI and code. I think the creator habits is getting very, very good, and every time it's getting better, like making these kind of workflows for somebody that has different backgrounds and maybe knows how to write a little bit of code, and sometimes they want to use UI or they want to create models and import them. Like, I think it's going in a great direction. I hope you think the same. And as I said, like, I know I think I showed some code the first time, and then I moved into the UI for a while. Hopefully some of you will be writing code or are writing code, and this can trigger any thoughts on you. As I said, the best way of creating better things, and well, I mean, it's not the only way, but from my side at least, I always think that sometimes sharing and speaking out loud about what I am thinking, what I am trying to develop, every piece start sinking in, and maybe you realize about something that you could do in another way or whatever, like having more than one head in the same problem. So yes, I would love to have one of you guys showing something in the future. It would be amazing. Also to I don't know, like, see, I am really intrigued. I will be pinging around the CVD channel, the server, also for some feedback if you are working on something. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, again for joining. Thank you.